Okay, so hi everybody. I am founder and CEO at Bedrock Data. Hope you're all having an awesome morning and an awesome conference so far. I should warn you, I am going to use product names in my talk today. That's my job as a startup CEO. So knowing that this conference is all about data, I thought it would make sense to tell you a story about my leg. A while back, I had this terrible looking growth that was really pretty scary show up on my left leg. It was this big black mass. It hurt. There's more I could say about this thing, but I'm not going to. I don't want to freak anybody out. Suffice to say, it was kind of gross. And of course, I tried to procrastinate getting this thing checked out. I'm a human being. That's what we do. But I couldn't really ignore it. It went from the size of a Tic Tac to the size of a golf ball in like 3 weeks, and it freaked me out. So I go on the internet, and Dr. Google tells me that I've got like 3 months to live, right? So I go in to see my primary care physician to see what he thought of this thing. And I hadn't been there in a while. And I don't know, they'd switched systems at some point along the way. So while I'm freaking out about my leg, instead, I've got to spend, 20 minutes answering this litany of questions. About my age, my medical history, my allergies, all stuff that they had in their file, but it hadn't crossed the divide to their new system. So, after all that, the guy's finally able to check out my leg, and he wasn't as alarmist as Dr. Google, which is good, but he agreed that it was gross, and he thought it might be cancerous, so he's like, yeah, go get that checked out. Go see this dermatologist friend of mine as quickly as possible. So later that week, I go to the specialist, and I'm pretty nervous at this point. My blood pressure was a little higher, they tell me, at that appointment than it was when I went to see my PCP. And what happens next is that here I am, again, freaking out about my leg, just wanting to talk to this dermatologist and find out my fate. And it turns out that they've got a completely different system than my PCP. So here I am answering all of the questions all over again. Same routine: age, weight, height, family medical history, allergies, surgeries, alcohol, drug abuse, eating habits, you name it. Like all these ridiculous questions. They could have asked me who my favorite Star Wars character was, I swear. And I'm like, come on, doc, we can talk about this later. Let's get down to talking about the leg. And so I'm sitting there thinking about this, and as the CEO of a startup, I'm constantly thinking about time. We've got a fixed amount of money that our investors have given us to bring products to market and become a successful business. And, you really come to appreciate how precious every minute is when you're calculating the next company lunch in minutes of burn and things like that. It's just how you think. And I know that's true for doctors too, because they have these very intense schedules. They have to see enough patients to be able to make some money while also having time to fill out all the paperwork. So, after my second round of doctor-patient time wasting, and with this absurd growth on my leg, I was ready to move on. And luckily we did move on. So just to wrap that up, the thing turned out to be something called a hemangioma. It's totally no big deal. It's just a clump of blood cells that grows in a weird way. So no big deal at all, just ugly and foreboding, and they got rid of it, and it's fine now. But do get your skin checked out because it'll make you feel a lot better. Honestly, if you have something growing there. So anyway, a few months later, I go back to my PCP. And what happens? They're like, oh, yeah, we refreshed our system. It was the same system, but they done some refresh the day after I left. And of course, I had to answer all the questions again. And it's just like, you gotta be kidding me, Here we are in the age of Watson answering Jeopardy questions. And we've got to answer the same questions for our doctor over and over and over and over and over. Okay, so at this point, I wouldn't blame you if you were wondering, what does this have to do with me and with data today? My point here is that we've all experienced this medical data problem. Different doctors on different pages, leaving us to really bridge between them and share our data with all of them so that they can be on the same page. Basically, they're living in data chaos. And of course, it's not just doctors. Just the other day, I was on the phone with customer service at my bank. I got transferred 3 or 4 times, and every time I had to tell my whole story over again. Not just my story, but all the details: my name, my address. Have you updated your phone number lately? It was crazy. So this problem is ubiquitous, and I want to be clear, though. Bedrock Data does not focus on health data or on financial banking data or anything like that. But I did start Bedrock Data in order to help businesses tame their data chaos, specifically related to their customer data and the types of data that they hold as a business. And our first product, which we released back in 2014, it helps marketers and salespeople keep their cloud applications in sync with each other, which is a big help. So a few months ago, I'm sitting in my office, feeling pretty good about being CEO of the company I started, feeling like we're doing a great job helping marketers and other business folks with their data problems. You know, it's fun. I get to employ people, solve hard problems, delight customers, work 20 hours a day. So maybe that last one's tough, but it's all about the daily victories. And you know, I'm sitting there feeling pretty good, and I'm having this conversation with Luke. Luke is our director of customer success. He's awesome. And I asked him what our updated stats are on our account-based ticketing report. It's a report that we run pretty frequently, like 3 or 4 times a month, so just about once a week we run this thing. It tells us how support tickets roll up at the account level. It's really important for us. We often have more than one contact at an account. We happen to use a help desk system that doesn't really have account-based capabilities. Might seem like an odd choice, but it's a really great system that our customers love, and we're all about delighting the customer at the end of the day, so they love it, so we keep it, and we deal with, you know, the reporting issues on the back end. So I asked Luke for the up-to-date stats, like what does it look like today? And I get one of these. He had this like visceral kind of physical reaction, like, okay, big shot. You really think it's that easy, you know, for me to run this report? And he looked a little frustrated, honestly. So I might be a CEO, but I'm no slave driver. And so I asked him what was up, what's going on here. It's about 5 o'clock when I asked him for this. And he reveals to me that it's going to take him like 3 or 4 hours to run this report. And I'm like, 3 or 4 hours? You know, this is something we do all the time? He's like, yeah, I do it almost once a week. So that concerned me, and I asked him why, and he said, well, he's got to pull all of the data into Excel and just do all of these steps. He's got to mash it all up and put it all back together in order to get the charts and graphs and numbers that he wants. So again, I think something that we've probably all lived at different points. And at that moment, sitting on my high horse about what we had built at Bedrock, feeling pretty good about myself, I got this wake-up call. I realized that despite all of the frustration with the doctors, the bankers, the customer service folks on the phone, the resolve to go out and solve those data chaos problems, here I was actually repeating a lot of those mistakes, just in a different way, right here in my own company. You know, this was the problem we had set out to solve, and we had our apps integrated, and that was a huge help in terms of dealing with our data chaos, just like, you know, for our customers it has been. But we were still living in that chaos, and now it simply had to do with analytics. It was just another expression of this ubiquitous data chaos.
Did you call customer service?
Yeah, well, customer service had already given me the, like, are you serious? So I kind of felt like maybe I just, yeah. That's exactly. So the good news is that, as some of you already know, Bedrock Data released a new product earlier this year. It's called Fusion, and I'm happy to report that Luke's life has gotten a lot easier. I've gone back to being a self-aggrandizing CEO, and because we can run that report and a bunch of others like it, you know, it wasn't just the 3 to 4 hours a week on that one report. We've got like 16 or 17 examples of that across our company. So we're talking about a lot of time spent on this problem. Now we can run those reports in seconds, literally seconds. So it's really amazing, and I would like to share with you what this is all about. So quickly, here's how it works. You log into Fusion, you click a few times and connect up whatever cloud applications you use. So today we're really focused on data that you've got in cloud applications. So like CRM, marketing systems like Marketo or HubSpot, support systems like Zendesk, whatever apps you're using, you just go through Fusion, you link into each one, you log in as usual. It's really, really easy, and within a few minutes, Fusion's able to start crunching and ingesting all of that data from all your different customer lifecycle cloud applications. And a few hours later, depending on how much data you have, it can take a few minutes, but sometimes it takes a few hours, you get this nice email telling you that your Fused data warehouse has been built and that you can go and access it. Fused data means that we've brought all of that disparate data together in this really meaningful way. So we've taken all your contacts and accounts across all your systems, we've matched them together so that you can have them all in one place without having to do tons of work in Excel to get the data into the right shape every single time you want to run a report. And the best part is that you get a really simple interface to that data. I think you've probably heard of it. It's called SQL, the database query language from 1986. So it's obviously used by developers and analysts everywhere. And it's so widespread that it's supported by just about every BI tool on the planet. So you go look at the most popular BI tools out there: Tableau, Qlik, Looker, Domo, Yellowfin. There are tons of these things. They pretty much all have a native ability to connect to a SQL data store. So now, with your Fused data warehouse, you can connect your BI tool and write these pretty killer high-level customer reports using any tool you want on top of a 360-degree customer data set. I should say that getting cloud data into SQL and BI tools in and of itself might not sound that special because there are tons of ETL tools out there that do things like that. But Fusion goes beyond ETL. That's where the Fused data concept comes in. So let me just break down for you a little bit about what that is. First, we translate and standardize the data. So dates and Booleans and all the different discrete types of fields are brought into a standard format. So no integer date fields, number of seconds since January 1st, 1970, we'll bring that into a standard date field so you can match it up and it makes sense when compared to dates in other systems. And that's all pre-baked. So we standardize these field types because we're connecting into cloud applications, so we know what the data schema in those cloud applications is. We know the standard schema that we're mapping it to, and so we're able to do that transform automatically without any input or hours spent editing config files or writing code. Then beyond simple translation, we also transform the schema, and I think this is the really important part. So, the goal is really to reconcile all of the disparate schemas out there to bring your data into one standard format, one standard schema. This is important because every different cloud app has a different schema on the data, and that's why you've got to spend so much time in Excel kind of bridging all of these gaps and trying to merge all this data back together. It's a real pain when it comes to analysis. It's why, most people who buy a BI tool that we've talked to when they're first buying the tool, they often think it's going to solve all their reporting problems, only to come to realize that they've actually got this big data prep problem on their hands, and it doesn't matter how you're visualizing the data, you've still got to deal with all that data prep. So most people we've talked to think that data prep is about 80% of most of their analytics projects, which is really significant. And so our goal is to cut that down, to about 20, 30, 40%, something like that. So Fusion takes all that disparate data and passes it through a master data layer, bringing everything into a universal schema, so that at the end of the day, you get this unified relational data set that's ready for high-level analysis without any of that data wrangling, headache, or pain. And this is what we call a fused record. Contact or company with all the differences between the schemas and the data values ironed out and standardized, and it maintains relational integrity to all of the ancillary data you've got in the various systems, like sales opportunities from your CRM system, website visitor data off of your website, email events from your marketing system, things like that. So one single unified set of contacts and companies with relational integrity to all of the ancillary data that you've got in your ecosystem. So let me recap. Recipes in the kitchen, they've got hands-on prep time and then total cooking time. So Fusion, you've got about 10 minutes worth of hands-on prep time. You literally just come in and connect it to all your cloud apps in a few clicks, logging into each cloud app, super easy. Max probably a couple hours of total cooking time. Then you get that email telling you that your warehouse is ready. And then you connect up your BI tool and start writing high-level reports on top of your Fused data set so you can correlate data points about your customers across all of your disparate cloud apps that you've got out there. Then you can go on to doing something awesome with your time because you just saved yourself and your company countless hours of repetitive, manual, error-prone work. So again, in our case, we save 3 to 4 hours on one report alone. And when you multiply that across all the reports that we run in the company, it's really significant. So, the question for you is, how much time can you save? You can find out by signing up for a free trial at fusion.bedrockdata.com. Of course, I love being in touch with folks. So if you'd like to learn more about Fusion, we do have a booth here, and we'll be around today. We'd love to chat more. I'd also love to hear from you outside the conference. And we don't have to talk about like salesy stuff. I'm not going to try to sell you the product. I'd love to just connect and network and chat. So please feel free to reach out via these channels. And I hope you have an awesome end to the conference today and a great trip home. Thanks very much.